Hey guys, I just wanted to talk a little bit about Game of Thrones. All right, so Game of Thrones, obviously worst ending ever, one of the worst. Right after Lost, and then they did the House of Dragons, which I watched most of the first season. But I think my major problem with it going from Game of Thrones to House of Dragons is it brought us into a world of people that are already rich, already famous, already have these big titles and names, and it's about these, famous people and politics and you don't feel for any of these people because it feels like our lives now as regular watchers and the governments and the people above us and the power above us. And I think we can all kind of relate to the fact that it's like, I don't care as much because it's not an underdog story or anything set in that manner. Where I'm really enjoying A Night of the Seven Kingdoms. We're on episode 3, episode 4 is coming out tomorrow on Sunday. And maybe tonight, depending on when I post this. And so far, I've just absolutely loved it. Like, I think it is exactly what Game of Thrones and that universe needed for a new TV show because you get a great character, you get him coming from nothing, and it's going to be the build from there. And so far, it is funny. You like the characters, you have heart for them, and you care what happens already after, I'd say, episode 2. I'm already like hoping the best for this guy, hoping the best for his squire, which if you've seen season 3, you know who that actually is, which is, a pretty big twist, but at the same time, like you kind of saw something coming from that. And it made sense when, he said the boys are missing. Now, I think this was the best idea that they could have done after having, I don't think Game of Thrones did even, or sorry, I don't think House of Dragons did even close to as good as Game of Thrones. But following this, I could see people jumping back on the train. I could see myself, and I think I am jumping back on the train for the Game of Thrones universe. And it's just funny the fact that they're not taking themselves as serious as they did the other ones. When he like pooed at the tree, it was so caught off guard for me in such a serious series, and to see it be like back down to earth, right? Because right now they're not talking about dragons, they're not talking about White Walkers, they're not talking about like these mystical things that of course will be brought up, but it really is just like a more 18th century, 17th century scenario about a man trying to make his own and, be the best he can be. And I think a lot more of the audience can relate, enjoy, and, you know, um, be excited for these characters. And the fact that we get to kind of see other characters that we've seen before at a younger age and see how they were either nothing or they were just shenanigans the whole time is awesome to me. And even if I don't quite recognize the character and then I realize later who that actually is, it's so much funnier for me to realize, oh shit, that's X and Y who's going to be, a king or a ruler of this land, or like is taking life so serious in the Game of Thrones um, TV show. But right now they're just young, dumb, and having fun. And like, I just support it. And I think everyone should actually check out A Night of the Seven Kingdoms because I think it is probably the best opening with these 3 episodes than even the original Game of Thrones. Don't get me wrong, the first couple episodes of Game of Thrones and like the first season is incredible and it pulls you in, but it pulls you in for a different reason. It pulls you in because you're trying to understand this world. You're seeing someone get beheaded. You're seeing powers kind of bounce back and forth, but they're still at the beginning at a lower level. You start knowing the kings and the people that you're like, oh, they're all powerful. But you start with people like the Starks who have rulership in an area, but they're not like these gods or these overall giant kingdoms that control stuff like in House of Dragons. It's just people. And I think starting back in that point is way better than House of Dragons. And I think everyone should check it out. Now, what do you think? Do you think so far this is good? Do you think you're going to check it out? Have you checked it out? And maybe you just don't care. Maybe you're like, I'm done with this. Like after the original Game of Thrones ending, like screw it, I'm over it. Or you watched House of Dragons and you prefer that more like governmental conversations between other countries and the family that has like all the money and power struggling to hold it. I personally like the underdog story way more in most things I watch. All right, tell me what you think. Like and subscribe if you like this video. Catch you on the next one.